Welcome to Hip Hop Movie Club, the show that harmonizes the rhythm of hip hop with the magic of movies. Today we're discussing the 2004 hip hop dance battle movie You Got Served. We are three old heads who put their old heads together to vibe on these films for you. I'm Dino Wright, podcaster, filmmaker, longtime hip hop fan, and today, January 14th, as we record this, is LL Cool J's birthday, so happy birthday to Mr. James Todd Smith himself.
Right on. As we were talking, Slick Rick's birthday as well as Do It All. I'm JB, 80s and 90s nostalgia junkie, longtime hip hop fan, and a guilty pleasure of mine is watching the YouTube videos of Gen Z and millennials react to hearing old school hip hop classics for the first time.
I'm Boogie, a DJ, longtime hip hop fan, and I was going to tag along with Diagonal as well because, Councilman Dupree, Do It All Kelly is my actual councilman, so I want to give him a birthday shout out as well as the GOAT, LL Cool J, and the greatest story of all time, Slick Rick. But this film right here is one of my guilty pleasures. I don't care what anybody says. I enjoy watching it.
Right on. In this episode, we'll answer the question, how impactful was You Got Served? And before we get going, please support the rescue and recovery efforts in Los Angeles. You can go to the American Red Cross website at redcross.org or the Mutual Aid LA website, mutualaidla.org. And please hit that subscribe button down below so you won't miss an episode.
You Got Served follows two best friends, Elgin and David, who lead a hip-hop dance crew in LA. They're passionate about dance and need to raise money to reimburse family and some underground associates, so they enter a high-stakes dance battle competition. The movie highlights the rivalry with a suburban crew and explores themes of loyalty, betrayal, and redemption. Along the way, Elgin and David face personal struggles, and they must reconcile their differences to help win the ultimate battle and protect what matters most to them. The film showcases the power of friendship, the spirit of hip-hop culture, and the transformative nature of dance.
And here are 5 things you need to know about You Got Served. Number 1. From the streets to the stage, this movie shows how hip-hop dance moved from underground battle zones to mainstream stages. You Got Served isn't just a dance flick, it's a cultural snapshot of one major way hip-hop broke into the broader entertainment world. Number 2. The dance battle is the new street fight. You Got Served redefined conflict resolution. Instead of throwing punches, it's all about throwing down sick moves. In the world of hip-hop, battles can be a metaphor for proving your skills and claiming respect, but with rhythm and style instead of fists. Number 3, the soundtrack, or the score, we'll get into this, is a hip-hop masterclass. If you're listening to the early 2000s freshest hip-hop, You Got Served was a must-watch. The soundtrack delivered a time capsule of iconic artists like B2K, Lil Kim, and Yin Yang Twins, and solidified hip-hop's presence in mainstream music and culture. Number 4, loyalty, family, and hustle. At its heart, You Got Served is about loyalty to your crew. It reflects the value of real friendships and hustling for your dreams in the hip-hop community. And number 5, hip-hop's influence on film is real. You Got Served represents the pivotal moment where hip-hop influenced not only music, but Hollywood storytelling. While this film wasn't highly regarded as a cinematic triumph, it's a beloved cult classic among hip-hop fans.
Right on, Dino Right. So let's kick it off with Boogie's our leadoff hitter. And from the streets to the stage, let's talk a little bit about how hip-hop dance style is moved from underground battle zones out to the mainstream stages.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, at its very core, hip hop was underground. You look at the original B-boys, like all of that was solely underground. Like it took place in the outer boroughs, if you will. Like nothing was downtown Manhattan. It was all in the outer boroughs, the Bronx, then Brooklyn, then Queens. Nothing was happening in Manhattan, or not even. And most people outside of the East Coast didn't even know what was going on until it started breaking out. But like this shows how something that was once underground and it was primarily in minority groups in the inner city was picked up and it started to travel outside of those areas. And now we have major film distributors now picking up these moves and putting those moves on center stage and telling the stories behind the people that perform those moves. I mean, You Got Served. I mean, it like I said, like we said in the breakdown of the takeaways, it wasn't a cinematic masterpiece, but it showed how this is what's going on, and these are real stories and true things that are happening, and we need to show these things so that people can kind of see what's going on. And I mean, I've watched this movie so many times, I don't even know how many times I've watched it, but you know, I'll pass the mic, so you know, I don't want to talk too much on it because I can talk for days about it.
Yeah, I was amazed by the talent that was depicted on the screen. All the head spin, the interaction between the two crews, and again, to the masses, they really did sell out these shows with these hip hop dance battles, and it became so much more mainstream following this film. And I think, Donna Wright, you were talking about some of the spin-offs that occurred like shortly after. What type of influence did it have?
Sure. You can draw a direct line from this movie that came out in 2004 to the Step Up franchise of movies that came out, you know, following this. Competition shows on TV like America's Best Dance Crew, and even So You Think You Can Dance, and even Dancing with the Stars. You know, the American incarnation of it followed like in the years after this movie came out. So, yeah, it's not the greatest film of all time, but it paved the way for this moment of dance in the mainstream consciousness.
Yeah. You know, piggyback on that real quick. Like you mentioned America's Best Dance Crew, and I was a loyal watcher of that show. I watched every single season of the America's Best Dance Crew, and watching some of the Step Up movies later on, some of the winners and some of the competition crews that competed on America's Best Dance Crew appeared in the Step Up movies. Like you can clearly see their faces and recognize them from America's Best Dance Crew, and it spawned probably one of the greatest hip hop dance groups of all time. That, you know, they have a residency in Vegas, the Jabberwockies.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love those guys.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
and Quest Crew and, you know, Super Crew. Those guys are all in these
Massive
movies.
Monkeys. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it was huge.
Yeah.
Huge jump off point.
That moment in the mid 2000s was really big for this, and this is where you can really draw the origin from.
Yep. I felt so bad I never had a crew to dance with. And it's crazy because it's crazy because my nickname was El Boogie, and El Boogie came because I used to rip people on the dance floor. It wasn't because I DJed, it was because I danced. But I never had a crew. And I always used to go in a club. I'd be like, yo, who's the best dancer in here? Get in the center right now. Let's do it. And I would go at it.
Nice.
And that's how I got the name El Boogie, where I later shortened down to Boogie. But it came from battling people in the club. Absolutely.
Wow.
I was part of that culture.
You're a one-man wrecking crew, Boogie.
Yes.
You're the crew.
I remember plenty of times. I remember there was some times we had they would have the parties in the Cavallo room, and some guys from Trenton would come, and they'd be like, you know, a whole crew of them. I would battle the whole crew by myself. I was like, yo, let's go, bring them on. All right, you out of the way. Bring the next one on.
I've seen you move, man. I believe it.
Yeah.
Oh man. So like these movies are my guilty pleasures because it fills a bit of a void for me because, like I said, I never had a crew that danced with me. I used to do it by myself, but it would have been so nice to have like a team of people that did the same thing that I did and on the floor. And like I had my one time roommate Jimmy that we went to high school together. He was that rider for a little while. So when he was that rider, the two of us would go at it with other people. But when he left Ryder, it was like, damn, I'm by myself again.
You're like kid without play, or a play without kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I wonder if you can draw lineage too. You know, in my situation, I have a daughter who's 15, and she's done dance since she was 3 or 4 years old. And hip hop has been a genre ever since. Mm-hmm. So she was born in 2009. I wonder at what point hip hop became a genre, because traditionally it was like tap, ballet, jazz. And I come from, you know, predominantly white area, a suburban area, but there's been hip hop as a genre, and it is so beloved. And like, for me, it's the most entertaining type to watch because I love the beats, I love the music, and I love that style of dance. And she loves it. She does like 2 different hip hop routines alongside of like a tap or jazz or ballet. So like, yeah, I mean, they come up with these costumes, or they're flashy. Sometimes they look like the tracksuits. And they do a lot of mashup beats like you see here as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's become so much more mainstream, and I wonder if this movie, as well as the other ones shows that you mentioned in other movies, has something to do with that around that same time frame.
I would be surprised. I would not be surprised because those movies, like as cheesy as a lot of people say they are, they wouldn't keep making them if people weren't going to see them.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like the film industry is in existence to make money, and they're making money off these movies. That's why they keep making them and making them and making them. But yeah, absolutely, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a direct correlation. I wouldn't be surprised one bit.
Yeah, I'm glad for it because these are
absolutely.
These are long recitals. They're like 3 hours, and it's one after the other. When the hip hop ones come on, that makes me perk up and it keeps things going.
Certainly, you can probably show that the popularity of doing that alongside of like tap, jazz, modern, ballet, all that kind of stuff. Like, the last 20 years has probably been a pretty good period for that.
Yeah, right around the same time frame for sure. Yes.
Yep.
Great influence. So next takeaway that you mentioned, Donna, right, was the dance battle is the new street fight. So conflict resolution through dancing. Instead of throwing punches, they're throwing down sick moves. So Boogie, you want to take us through, how that is displayed in this film?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like the ultra at its core, the art of b-boying and the whole roots of hip hop kind of started around this basis of resolving conflict. When you look at the original crews, they were all like a lot of them were originally gangs, that ran through New York that decided to have ceasefires as far as the actual fights and inside the settlement on the dance floor. So it was great to see that this film kind of picked up that mantle and that idea and ran with it. You look at the character Mr. Rad, played by Steve Harvey, and he consistently mentioned, we will have no fighting in this area. This is not what we're going to do here. You guys go out there, you do your best, you perform at your best. And when it's over, you shake hands, you become friends, and you walk off of here. And there were several instances where things weren't even settled amicably, and the fights actually were about to break out. And he would literally, him and Mr. Chuck, his security guy, who was LAPD, would go into the midst of the fights and separate the guys. And it was good to see that, like, they weren't afraid to keep that core idea consistent throughout the film. So yeah, absolutely. Like this is how it is. Like, you go out there and you dance and you shake hands after the end of the day and you walk away from it. Like there's no need for anybody to die or, be hurt, because of it. And, sidebar, this kind of takes me to another movie that we mentioned, Stomp the Yard. In the beginning, there was a similar dance battle and it didn't end as amicably as these battles in this film did. So it was good to see, like, all right, this is how it really should be going. Like, yeah, you put money on it, but whatever. At the end of the day, you walk away and you live to, see another day. You go back and you practice, and you come back the next day and you compete again.
There's a long history of dance battles. If you want to take it back to 1961, the original West Side Story. The Jets and the Sharks and their snap. I always laugh at that because it's like these tough guys and then they're snapping their fingers, but they're dancing. But then again, that turns violent, unfortunately. But yeah, it goes way back, right? And then even the Beach Street, which we watched, one of the first ones we watched, and you get those cruise battles, and it does get a little feisty at times because it's a lot of showmanship, and these are fierce competitors. They work hard at their craft, and they want to be the dominant crew. So just like in any athletic endeavor, basketball, you see pushing and shoving. Football, there's extracurricular activities and brawls and baseball and hockey. Of course, it's like it's bound to happen when you're that gifted and talented and you put so much effort into it and you want to be that alpha. These things happen. Yep.
You said it, the word alpha. Yep, there's a lot of bravado in hip hop.
Right. Yeah.
A lot of pride.
For sure. Yeah, Donna, anything to add on the street fight aspect of it being done by dance?
Yeah, I mean, if we take Hamilton as a historical artifact,
there we go.
It was happening in the 1700s. that was real, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah, Lin-Manuel Miranda's interpretation, right?
Historically accurate. There was historically accurate.
Historically accurate.
Hamilton was a documentary, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And I quote.
Hip Hopumentary. Yeah, speaking of hip hop, so the next takeaway is the soundtrack is a hip hop masterclass. So there's, we'll talk about, Boogie will talk about the distinction between the soundtrack and the score, but there was just a lot of great music throughout, which really kept the energy flowing.
Yeah.
Yep. The actual soundtrack itself, I'll talk about briefly, and then Boogie, you can talk about some of the stuff that was in the score, but there was a lot of B2K on the soundtrack. They dominated the soundtrack. There's some songs by Marcus Houston. There's a song by him who started in the movie as well as Elgin, and ATL, MOP. They have some tracks on here as well. None of those songs are super big hits, but some of the bigger hits are seen in the score and some of the big dance battles. Do you want to talk about those, Boogie?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I like to equate the soundtrack to a B2K mixtape. I mean, it was basically like, they were all four members of B2K were in the movie. Omarion, Raz B, Lil Fizz, and J Bilg, all B2K members, all showcasing their dance skills. And of course, they loaded the soundtrack and dominated it with eight out of 14 tracks were all them. One of my favorite songs by them is actually on the soundtrack, Take It to the Floor. Track 3 is my joint. I love that song. But there's some notable songs that appeared in the movie score but did not appear on the soundtrack. And one of them is one of my favorite songs, and it's actually the song that plays in the beginning of the movie, Drop by Timbaland, Magoo, and Fat Man Scoop. When that song comes on, I go absolutely nuts. Then you have Stand Up by Ludacris and Shawnna, by Method Man. One of my favorite songs from Freeway and Petey Crack, Flip Side. I love that song. You got
Still
Heaven.
Hot.
Yes.
Still hard.
Yes, I could literally put that song on right now in any club, bar, lounge in Newark, and the crowd would go nuts to it. Yep. Absolutely guaranteed.
Yep.
Period. Yep. Heaven by Nas and Julie Black is a good song. Of course, we have the classic, The Choice Is Yours, hip hop classic anthem. Not even hip hop anthem. Mainstream anthem. You can put that song in any bar, period, and people will go nuts to it. By Black Sheep of the Backpackers and the what's the group? Oh my God!
Of the Native Tongues.
Yes.
Yeah.
What? I don't know why I'm stumbling words. And then you got Get It on the Floor by DMX and Swiss Beats. And you got Time for Some Action by my man Redman from the Brick City. And then the song that defined the final dance battle of the movie, Pump It Up by Jersey City's own Joe Budden. Not on the soundtrack, but all of those songs right there, you could put them on in addition to the songs that appeared on the soundtrack. You could get a party jumping instantly.
Yeah.
And there's also a non-hip hop song on that soundtrack that I actually do want to give a shout out to because it's very, very important to the culture. The song Summer Madness.
Yes.
By Kool and the Gang. And if you don't know this song, you need to know this song. Google it.
This song. Listen if you don't know this song, you've heard this song.
Absolutely. As Dino was saying, if you've never heard this, if you don't know this song, you've definitely heard this song because it was sampled in a classic hip hop song. Actually, it's a classic mainstream song. Summertime by DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, the ultimate summer anthem. So yes, you don't know the song, go listen to the original, mellow out to it. Listen to Summertime, listen to some of the other ones. And I'm gonna go out in the rain and do it for Lil Saint.
Everything I do now is for Lil Saint.
Oh, absolutely for Lil Saint.
R.I.P. Lil Saint. Man, that connection between Lil Saint and Rico was special. That was nice.
Oh, absolutely. Nice. I loved it. I loved it. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely loved it.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
But hey, that takes us great breakdown, by the way, Boogie. I love your passion for those musics. I was loving those hip hop tracks, especially the mainstream ones that no one loved. But also, Time for Some Action. I always think of the Mike Tyson walking song.
Yes.
That takes me back to his prime. But the next takeaway: loyalty, family, and hustle. So You Got Served is a lot about loyalty to your crew, but also reflects the value of these real friendships, hustling for your dreams, community, and there's the family aspect to it as well. So a lot to take from there. But you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, like you see from the beginning, like the two, like like they've also referenced it plenty of times throughout the movie. Like Elgin and David were like, Shaq and Kobe, Mike and Scottie Pippen. Like, you think of any 1-2 punch, and those two were it. The choreography that they provided for their crew. I mean, as far as even inspiring the crew, fronting the money so that the crew could rehearse, fronting the money so that they could even compete against the other crew. They were like, look, we'll put the money up. We just want you guys to be there. We'll put the money up. We'll take care of whatever has to be done. And these guys were good guys at the core. But the fact that the things that they had to go through to hold the crew together, like they were doing a little bit of shady stuff. Like they were running for another guy, Emerald, because they don't necessarily say what's being taken care of, but you can kind of insinuate that it's a little bit of illegal activity. But they were doing these things because they wanted to take care of their crew. They wanted to, at the end of the day, have money to pay back mama, to pay back grandma, to take care of the crew, to do these things that they want to do, to get sister, the sister taken care of so that she didn't have to work these extra shifts so she could focus on her schooling, things like this. It was good to see that they pushed that narrative in the film. And even when I'm not going to go into too much about it because I don't want to give it away in case, any of our listeners want to watch it, but there's a little bit of shadiness that happens with one of the crew members in the movie, and it catches everybody off guard. But even that, you're just like, when it happens, you're like, oh my God, you get like a lump in your throat, and you feel bad for these guys because you see what's at stake and what they're going to lose, and all of these things that they're trying to do for everyone else are going to fall short because of this incident. But it's a great movie, and it definitely it pushes you, and even at the end when they have the redemption moment, there's a couple bumps in the road, but to see them, the redemption, it's great. It's great to see these type of things on film.
Yeah, great breakdown. There's a family aspect of it because David and Elgin are boys. They grew up together and they're inseparable. But then what happens, as you see, is David takes a love interest in Elgin's sister, Leah, and it so happens to be that they're out together on a date while Elgin's getting in trouble. Getting jumped with some of those illegal activities. And then you have, like I said, that connection between Rico and Saint. Saint's just little Saint's a little young boy who wants to be part of the crew so bad. And Rico kind of takes him in as an adoptive little brother, so to speak. That's his little brother. He buys him clothes, he helps feed him, and takes care of him. And that's a special bond there. So there's that dichotomy with the crew and jealousy over, hey, you were with my sister, between David and Elgin, and where were you? Yeah. I needed your help. You weren't around. She had shut off his phone because she wanted his attention. So it was all that type of dramatic. And then they were just beefing till the very end, till the thing. But yeah, and I picked up what you're talking about with that. Benedict Arnold, one of the members becomes Benedict Arnold, kind of like helps out the crew. And where's your loyalty? That's, again, who are you loyal to? About yourself, your family, your crew. There's those conflicts that occur. Yeah, Dinah, anything to add on that aspect? The loyalty, family, the hustle.
Just to mention that Jack Hay plays Elgin and Leah's mother. I, for one, love Jack Hay. Who doesn't? But I thought she was criminally underused in this film.
I know.
Yes.
More Jack Hay.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I love Jack Hay. Back in watching 227, used to come on Friday nights back in the day on network TV.
Was it A-Man in the 227, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mary.
Man.
Oh, man, loves her. Absolutely.
The final takeaway was hip-hop's influence on the film is real. So You Got Served is a pivotal moment where hip-hop influenced not only the music, but also Hollywood storytelling. So the choreography, the fashion, the swagger, it showcased all that, and the portrayal of youth culture, competition, artistry. I mean, the fact that you have Lil' Kim in this movie, and part of the prize, in addition to the $50,000, was your crew is going to be in Lil' Kim's music video. So she is there as a hostess of this event, along with Lala, Carmelo Anthony's ex. Yeah, it's all out there, and you see a lot of influence in the stylings of these dancers become mainstream all over these music videos of that era, and then in movies, these shows we mentioned, etc. So hip hop influence is real. Boogie, any additional commentary on that?
Yeah, just, because at the time, Lala was MTV's host on Total Request Live at the time. Like, she was making her way and becoming big on the MTV circuit. And, they snagged her on her ascent and put her in this film because she was hot at that moment. And like you mentioned, Lil' Kim, the Queen Bee, Biggie's, ace in the hole. She rolled with Bad Boy, like hardcore. And she also appears on the soundtrack on Do That Thing alongside B2K track number 2. And a lot of people don't recognize the guy who was the host of the dance battle at the end, Wade Robson. He actually is a world-renowned choreographer, and he's actually worked with those big-name acts that he mentions in the film, along with some others. But, yeah, so, this movie definitely, was bringing it to the mainstream, and you could see that the higher execs in the film industry saw it as something special in hip hop. It was like, hey, let's get this snapshot out there and see what we can run with it. Like you said, like it's not necessarily cinematic triumph, but like I said, it's my guilty pleasure. I watch it all the time. Like I know the words to the movie. I've seen it so many times. I have the DVD right here.
The DVD.
Like,
what's a DVD?
Holding it right up.
Like I have proof that I own this movie.
Yeah.
Like
real cash money for that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like we decided to review the movie. I was like, oh shoot, I haven't watched the DVD, and so I hooked up the DVD player and watched the DVD on the Blu-ray player. Yes, absolutely. I didn't stream it. I didn't pay extra to stream it. I watched the actual DVD.
Oh, the DVD.
Yeah, I still have a lot of DVDs, and if I have one,
1080p resolution.
Absolutely,
it's amazing. I want. You should go back and see if there's any special features on that. I used to love the special features.
It's crazy. There are. I started watching them last night and then I fell asleep. But there's like some commentary with the director. I was like, oh man, I was trying to get back to it before we recorded, but I couldn't. If I come across anything, I'll let you guys know. We can add it to the notes.
There you go. Yeah, speaking of the time, Wade Robson, because he produced videos for Britney Spears, for NSYNC, among others. And speaking of Britney Spears, Kevin Federline is in this movie.
Yep.
As a dancer.
He is
one of Britney's exes, right? Or her ex.
At least her first ex-husband.
Yeah,
ex-husband.
Exactly.
Yep. And there's also, like we mentioned a couple other films that spun off because of this movie. One of them that made it big was Stomp the Yard, and the star of that show, that movie Stomp the Yard, was Columbus Short, who's actually a dancer in this movie, and also Megan Good, who plays Beautiful
with two L's.
Two L's. You got to accentuate the L's.
Right.
Yeah, she's in that movie as well.
Yeah, some good cameos.
Hey, some good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, excellent.
Like, you're not going to see some super ultra great action, but you definitely will have a good time watching this film.
Yeah, I was saying earlier, I think it's something fun to just keep on in the background if you're having a house party or something like that, and you have a lot of hip hop fans in, and you're going to catch a rap battle scene. You're going to catch some good hip hop music along the way, for sure. All right. So you guys want to go around the room? Let's give our ratings on this one. For You Got Served, Boogie, for You Got Served, would you bring that funky flick back? Bring that funky flick back? Or leave it in the vault?
Or bring that funky flick back.
Okay, Donna Wright. You now funky flick back or leave it in the vault?
I will bring this funky flick back. It's not really that great of a movie, of a film, but these dance scenes are fantastic. Yeah, just get past the plot parts. Don't worry about the plot parts so much.
Yeah.
Just get to the dance parts.
I've actually done that before.
Not really missing that much. It was just like a overheated after school special for me. But boy, these dance moves, and I love seeing the old NBA jerseys.
Yes.
That was fun to watch. Take me back to that time of flip phones. Yeah, so for that, just for that, I'm bringing this funky flick back.
Ooh, you see that split Iverson jersey, half black, half white? I'm loving that one that Rico and Little Sing had.
Yes.
I think I need one of those. But to my vote, I will also bring this funky flick back. I really enjoyed the dance scenes and the hip hop, and that alone makes it worthwhile. So bring that funky flick back. It's unanimous.
Yep. Oh, real quick though, I just realized I forgot to mention my man Rob Hoffman, who was actually the guy, one of the guys that wanted to compete against Elgin and David. He actually appears in Step Up to the Streets. Yes, he's one of the main characters in that movie, and he could dance his butt off.
Yeah.
He's a great dancer.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Steve Harvey in this one. I know we talked about earlier, but Steve Harvey as Mr. Rad, the judge. But man, he's ageless. He looks the same. That was 20 years ago. Yeah, Steve Harvey. My daughter recognized him from. That's the guy from Family Feud and stuff. I was like, yep,
That's the guy from
that's him. That's him.
He's everywhere.
Wonderful.
Hosting
looks
award
exactly
shows.
the same.
Exactly
The same.
Yeah, we did mention him, but yeah, just another shout out to Steve Harvey,
Absolutely. Got to give his flowers.
entertainment legend. Exactly.
Hey. Hip Hop Movie Club is produced by your HHMCs, JB, Boogie, and Dino Wright. Theme music by Boogie. Join us February 5th at Steel Stacks in Bethlehem for a screening of Break-Ins, speaking of dance movies. We got Turbo and Oath and a special K on the big screen, and a live breakdance performance on stage. Part of the Hip Hop Movie Club film series, hosted by Arts Quest and sponsored by Loud Radio PA. Shout out to Loud Radio PA. Tickets at steelstacks.org. And as always, check out our live event schedule on our website, hiphopmovieclub.com. Thanks for watching the Hip Hop Movie Club show. Ring the bell so you get notified when we post new content. It's the sound of a power-up for us, so thank you. We got a bunch of live events coming up. Click the link in the description and come hang with us. If you enjoyed this episode, you have more where that came from. Hit that thumbnail that's about to come on the screen.
And remember, don't hate, activate.
Activate.
Jerry curl activation?
Activate them Jerry curls.
No, man.
Look, your AC Green vest.
AC Green.
Get your soul glow on.
That's right. Mm-hmm.